Hello and welcome to Bliponomics. Phil is out sick tonight. I'm Jerry Anthony. Tonight, we are talking all things Skrulls, including President Ritson's insane declaration to Congress. But before we do, please feel free to subscribe to Bliponomics. And if you want to be a part of the show, email bliponomics@gmail.com. We are accepting rational, calm, hopefully insightful emails about all things Skrulls. That's all we hear. Skrulls everywhere. So let's all have a drink. What are Skrulls? Besides the newest character in my nightmares and the most recently confirmed alien species we've identified in the last 20 years or so. Now, along with the Asgardians, the Chitauri, the Frost Giants, the Dark Elves, the Light Elves, wherever the hell Carol Danvers is from, the Genius Raccoon, the Talking Tree Person, people from New Jersey. I'm just kidding. Anyway, these Skrulls, if you do not know, present a unique set of abilities from the rest of the alien life forms we know about. Skrulls can manipulate their physical form to look and sound exactly like humans. So precisely, in fact, that we cannot tell the difference. And they have been on Earth doing this completely undetected for years. Now, such talk would be just the domain of conspiracy theorists. But that is until the world saw the body cam footage of the attack on President Ritson's motorcade. We all saw the harrowing and terrifying image of that alien Skrull dying. And I know it is seared into my brain. Some are pointing out that the Skrull was trying to save the president. But that is pretty hard to believe knowing what we know now. We know the Skrulls, and not Nick Fury, are responsible for the Unity Day attack in Russia, where over 2,000 lives were lost. We know, of course, the Skrulls are responsible for the attack on President Ritson's motorcade. We know Skrulls are responsible for dozens, but most likely hundreds, of kidnappings. But why? Why are the Skrulls doing this? We don't know where they're from, how many of them there are, or how long they've been here. But here's what we do know. They're trying to incite conflict and create chaos here on Earth, and it's working. The Skrull attack in Moscow, they make it look like the U.S. did it. The Skrulls attack President Ritson's motorcade, they make it seem like Russia did it. And in hindsight, there are possibly a lot more. Suspicions are arising that the Skrulls may be involved in the conflict between Argentina, Colombia, and the Philippines, possibly others. But some of you right now might be saying, Jerry, we've already lived through multiple alien invasions and the blip. This is just another Tuesday, right? And I would applaud your optimism. But the most concerning fact about this particular alien invasion, the most nightmare-inducing scenario imaginable for everyday people like you and me, these Skrulls, they're kidnapping people. They are holding them prisoner, and they are replicating them and walking right into their lives completely unnoticed. Invasion of the body snatchers in real life, and we cannot do a thing about it. World leaders and governments are now very motivated to solve these problems, and they should be. Because this group of Skrulls can seemingly get to anyone, and they already have. They kidnapped and replaced the head of NATO, Secretary General Sergio Castano. They got to the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Pamela Lawton. They kidnapped an Avenger. Yes, it was War Machine, but he's still a pretty awesome Avenger. I know it's not like he was Thor, but they still got to an Avenger. But this group of Skrulls, and I'm saying group because we don't know if it's all of them, but this group are a hostile and dangerous threat to every human on the entire planet, and right now, we're unsure who to trust. Are we being led to slaughter by the people who are supposed to lead us and protect us? And speaking of being led to the slaughter by potentially hostile and dangerous world leaders. Our own hostile and dangerous world leader, President Ritson, although after hostile and dangerous, I would add vindictive, short-sighted, psychotic, and stupid, President Ritson, who very recently signed a trade deal with New Asgard, by the way, let's not forget that, declared in a tough guy address to the world. Just play the clip.
That is why tonight I'm presenting to Congress for immediate emergency authorization a bill that designates all off-world born species enemy combatants. We know who you are. We know how to find you. And we will kill every last one of you.
We know how to find you, and we will kill every last one of you. It's unclear how they know how to detect and find Skrulls. But obviously, President Ritson is big mad. President Ritson, dude, they blew up your car and you're calling for genocide. Remember Russia, who just suffered a 9/11 level tragedy? Over 2,000 people killed at the hands of this group of Skrulls? And even Russia is saying, like, damn, Ritson, slow down, buddy. Genocide? This group of Skrulls did attack President Ritson. And in doing so, by default, they attacked the United States of America. But didn't we also see that Skrull on the body cam may just have helped Nick Fury save President Ritson's ungrateful ass? But nope, it doesn't matter. Kill all Skrulls on sight. And not even just Skrulls. No. He said, all off-world species are enemy combatants. Attention, King Valkyrie, that trade deal might be off the table now. The United States may have just declared war on Norway and New Asgard. How do you think that's going to go? Whose side do you think Thor's going to take? Yours? Meanwhile, guess who is not calling for genocide? The United Kingdom. And their prime minister was kidnapped and simmed by Skrulls for God knows how long. And now she's dead. But she wasn't killed because of the Skrull attack. She was killed because of President Ritson's homicidal Skrullish Inquisition policy. I like that one. President Ritson, because of your words and your thirst for revenge, the blood of Pamela Lawton is on your hands. And when Congress finally hears your Skrull witch trial bill, that one was just as good, Congress should immediately propose a counteroffer. Impeachment. Or failing that, hopefully his cabinet is wise enough and Skrull-free enough to invoke the 25th Amendment before he does any more damage. He is either criminally stupid or criminally psychotic. Either way, President Ritson, the world is burning and you want to put it out with a gas can. And I've also heard the ridiculous suggestion that President Ritson is acting very out of character because he must be a Skrull. President Ritson is the only person on Earth I can say with 100% certainty is not a Skrull. He is just an angry little man with a big stick and a boo-boo. Genocide, do we even have to say it after Thanos and the last 4,000 years of human history? But let me remind him. Genocide is never the answer. Reasonable, insane leaders bring justice only those responsible for crimes. But as we have seen, Ritson is neither reasonable nor sane. So what can we predict is the next logical step for an unreasonable, insane president? Well, we are in the age of heroes. Why don't we call the Avengers? No, they probably won't be down. You know, considering Thor is on the team and we'd have to kill him and we'd have to kill the tree and the raccoon and no, can't do that. I know. Ritson will form a new super team. Ritson will get his best friend, Nick Fury, and just in case you're confused, not the Nick Fury that killed Maria Hill on the day of the Unity attack. That Nick Fury was a Skrull. I'm talking about the Nick Fury who saved the president. So The Fury that does bad stuff, Skrull. The Fury that does good stuff, human. Got it? Okay. So, Ritson and his new best friend, Nick Fury, they are going to create a new super team. Mark it down. I am going to predict this. They're going to make a new super team to go out and kill Skrulls. What are they going to call it? They can't call it the Avengers. What would a team of government assassins brought together to root out a certain kind of people be called? Can't call it the Avengers. Let's call it the Inquisitors. No, too on the nose. The Skrull Seekers. And then we can call them the SS for short. Because that's the kind of imagery President Ritson's insane declaration projects. So call your congressperson and say to them, we reject President Ritson's final Skrullution plan. You like that one? Final Skrullution. That was the best one. All right. That's my story. Let's hear yours. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Bliponomics. We have some listener emails. Can't wait. I may have to bust out a dramatic reading for this. Our good friend Sam. All right, Sam, let's see what you got here. Sam writes, Jerry, God bless that man Ritson for his unapologetic stance on those reptilian bastards. In a world of constant threats, I am proud to have a leader who prioritizes the safety and security of the natural born of this planet. We need to be clear, this isn't a potential threat, it's an ongoing attack. We aren't playing defense anymore, we're on offense and need to act accordingly. They tried to kill the president. That's an act of war. Complete extermination of the Skrull race is not just necessary, it's the only option. Wow, Sam. You are right in President Ritson's corner. Now, what happened with that English lady is regrettable. All wars have casualties. And why are you ignoring the story about Chris Stearns at FXN or the Patriot who whacked him? How do we know you're not a Skrull? Okay. That is a fair question, Sam. Sam finishes off. He said, just kidding about you being a Skrull. If I thought you were a real Skrull, Jerry, I'd be wearing you as boots already. Wow. Thank you, Sam. Let's remember, Pamela Lawton was killed by a extremist lunatic who thought she was a Skrull, and she was not. That's more than just regrettable. Okay, and I'm not ignoring the story about Chris Stearns. What happened to Chris? Chris was kidnapped. I am not a fan of Chris Stearns' politics, to be clear, but I don't want anyone kidnapped and simmed. But man, it was hard to tell the difference, wasn't it? Like, they both had sort of like the same agenda. It's almost like they didn't really need to kidnap Chris Stearns, but I hope Chris is doing okay. He was clearly a Skrull, and again, that was probably one of the most shocking moments of television we've had yet. And believe me, in the last 20 years, we've lived through a lot of stuff. Sam, thank you for the email. Let's see who we are going to next. Father Dinkle. Father Dinkle, thank you for the email. Father Dinkle writes, Jerry, there is no doubt we are in the end times. Jerry, for you and those like you who are blind to the truth, you call these things Skrulls. But for I and my flock, we know these by another name. Demon. More Bible verses. Dimitri, should I read the Bible verses? All right. 2 Corinthians 14, for such men are false apostles, deceitful workmen, disguising themselves as apostles of Christ, and no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. Jerry, I know you are young, foolish. I am not young. Foolish and naive, sure. And want to see the good in things, but defending the existence of demons, pretending demons have a right to life. Jerry, have you forgotten 21 Corinthians? I believe I have. You cannot drink at the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons too. You cannot have a part in both the Lord's table and the table of demons. I must support President Ritson on this important work. He is a crusader for for all righteous and God-fearing people. Yes, he is certainly going on a crusade. And if we remember the original Crusades, it's not very far off. Thank you, Father Dinkle, for yet another insane but very entertaining email. Please keep them coming. All right. We have Neil. Hello, Neil. Thank you for the email. Neil writes, "Hello, Jerry. I have a theory that will blow your mind regarding the recent Skrull news. The situation is bad for everyone, but it is really exciting for science. It sure is. Even more interesting than their shape-shifting abilities, which is absolutely fascinating, is their discovery marks yet another advanced alien species that bears striking similarities to humans. Like the Asgardians and Thanos and other beings we've encountered, we have yet another bipedal, two-eyed, two-armed, with fingers, two-legged, two-eared species that wears clothing, speaks with their mouths, etc. That is very interesting. Are we to believe that all these species evolved across the universe independently? No. Neil goes on to talk about a theory called the original species theory. We've heard this and we've talked about this before. In early civilization forms after the Big Bang and seeded life in the cosmos, I guess. It's certainly more than a coincidence, Neil, that we are so much alike. And we should send that note to President Ritson. Thank you, Neil, for the email and your theory. Right now, we are going to Johnny D. We're going to read an email from Johnny D. Johnny starts out, Jer Bear. Don't approve. In fact, I hate Jer Bear, so thank you. I'm glad you're calling for some common sense. Skrulls are dangerous and freaky, sure, but so are the Irish, and we get along with them just fine. But not all of them can be bad, right? I would like to volunteer and sit down for some peace talks with the Skrull in a public place, and I will bet we would have more in common than we think. I agree. Hopefully they don't kidnap and sim you. Johnny D continues, especially a female Skrull, as I feel like I communicate with women of all kinds much better than men. The female Skrull and I would talk about peace between our cultures, but also history, the universe, and nature. She would probably have to disguise herself as someone else, probably an actress or model. I would tell her about my personal fantasies about being with... Okay. Well, that didn't take long. Hey, whatever floats your boat, man. Two consenting species, I am not one to judge. Okay. Let's read an email from Chad. Chad writes, Jerry, it's time for you to admit to your listeners you were wrong and I was right about reptilians and the government. I've been saying this for years and you mocked me. Chad, that is true. That is true. I did mock you. Wow. We are in new times, aren't they? There was a time when you can say reptilians were running the government and you'd be considered crazy. Only if we'd go back to then. Chad, yes. Full props to you and all the conspiracy theorists. You did it. You got one right. But, to be fair, you did say the reptilians who were running the government came from Atlantis and they drink the blood of babies. There's no evidence the Skrulls come from Atlantis or drink the blood of babies. Thank you for your email, Chad. Well, thank you for all your emails. Let me just close with this. Your wife is not a Skrull. Your husband is not a Skrull. Your sister or your brother is probably not a Skrull. I don't know how we can tell, but let's just dial down the paranoia for a little bit and let's just look out for one another. All right? But thank you for all your emails. Next time, we are going to discuss something a little bit lighter, maybe not less conspiratorial, because next time we're discussing all things Captain America. And everyone loves a good Captain America on the Moon theory. So, I am Jerry Anthony. Phil will be in next time. Thank you for listening. This is Bliponomics. Catch you next time.